Good afternoon. It is Thursday, December 21st, and I would like to begin the monthly meeting of the Knoxville Transportation Authority. The first item on the agenda is a determination of a quorum. Mr. Lawhorn?
I count 6 members present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. The second item is the approval of the November 2024 minutes. Do we have any comments or questions on the minutes from the commissioners? Is there a motion to approve? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, minutes approved. Next item is the reports. I do not have any report today as KTA chair. So are there any commissioners that have any comments?
I guess if we have comments on all of this, we can just give them during the, okay, great.
All right, I'll turn it over to the staff.
Yes, thank you. First things first, I want to introduce the individual to my left. Dana Baker is our new Chief Operating Officer at CAT. She started last week. Do you want to say a few words, Dana?
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Dana Baker. I have over 30 years of experience in public transit, especially in operations, maintenance, safety-related departments. I worked at WMATA in DC for over 25 years, left there and ended up at Lynx in Orlando for about 5 years. Then did some independent consulting, and now I'm here at CAT and looking forward to supporting the team. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Dana's contribution to CAT and what she brings, so I'm sure it's going to be great. So, the other items I want to talk about is just ridership for the month of November. Fixed route ridership increased 2.3%, or I'm sorry, 23% year-to-date over last November. And then we had an 8% increase year-to-date this year for ridership. So ridership's heading in the right direction. Our on-time performance in November was 83.7%. That's also heading in the right direction from where we started in August with CAT Reimagined. We are still adjusting some time points based on feedback from operators. I'm hoping to see the on-time performance increase even further as we go along through this fiscal year. The other comment I want to make is there's going to be no bus service on Christmas Day or New Year's Day. That's all I have for director's comments.
Go ahead, Doug.
Hello, I do not have anything for this month, but wish everyone happy holidays and look forward to a great 2025.
Thank you. The next item is new business, the KTA nominating committee. So each year we choose 3 representatives who will nominate leaders for next year. I do want to let it be known that I intend to step down as the chair, but I am very grateful to have had this opportunity for the last few months to serve as the KTA chair. Since I will be stepping down, I'm going to nominate myself to be on the nominating committee to help find a replacement for me. And then Mr. Lawhorn has also agreed to be on the nominating committee, as is Commissioner Helsley has agreed. So we will be meeting in the month of January, and we'll return at the January board meeting with a proposed slate. Is that all I need to say? All right, that is it for the new business. We have some old business to attend to. The first item of old business is the January 2025 proposed route changes and Title VI analysis. So I'll turn it over to the staff.
Just a real quick question for clarification, John. Should we do the public hearing first, or should we do the presentation first?
Typically, we go ahead and have staff reiterate the presentation. I know we've had this once, and I think we've had some adjustments. So go ahead, and because sometimes the changes may address someone's comments. So have the staff make the presentation, then have the public comment, and then have discussion among the commissioners.
Thank you.
All right, so what we'll do is we'll review the, first of all, my name's Umar Tennessee. I'm the planning manager at CAT. And what we need to do is review the proposed changes for January 2025. And here they are. The Route 1, we're planning to extend Monday through Thursday hours to match Friday, the last trip at 10:15. There will be a revised routing to serve downtown only, and it will provide 15-minute service. The Route 20, we're revising the routing to discontinue the portion of Gay Street, and it'll basically serve Central, Magnolia, and Hall of Fame. The Route 22, we're adjusting the departure times from Knoxville Station to 15 after the hour and 15 till. The Route 23, we plan to extend service. The last trip is 7:45 p.m., and we're adding Saturday service from 7:45 a.m. to 7:45 p.m. The Route 37 will increase to 30-minute service on Saturday due to interlining with the Route 23. The Route 40 has revised routing from Knoxville Station serving James White Parkway, Sevier Avenue, Allen Home to regular route. And the Route 41 revising routing from Knoxville Station serving James White Parkway, Sevier Avenue, Blunt Avenue to regular route. Now to get into a few details, the Route 1 Downtown Connector. The purpose is to provide consistent service hours Monday through Friday. The revised routing you will see in red, and it is to serve downtown only. The service to Howard Baker, the service that's been discontinued, Howard Baker and Harriet Tubman, which is at First Creek, Austin, those segments will continue to be served by Route 34, which provides 30-minute service. And the objective is to increase downtown connectivity to include Main and Gay Streets and ensure reliable service hours. The Route 1 Downtown Connector outbound service will be as follows. From Knoxville Station, it'll make a right on Hall of Fame Drive, right on Hill Avenue, right Gay Street, right Magnolia Avenue, right Central Street, and right to Depot. The inbound service from Depot Avenue, left Gay Street, right Summit Hill, left Locust, continue to Main Street, make a left on Main Street, then a right on Gay Street, left Hill, left Hall of Fame, left Church to Knoxville Station. The Route 20 Central, Clinton Highway. There is some revised routing. The segment on Gay Street and the Hill Avenue segments will now be served by the Route 1 Downtown Connector. The objective is more direct service to Knoxville Station and more reliable service times. The outbound routing is in green, is in blue, and the inbound routing is in green. And the outbound service is as follows. From Knoxville Station, it'll make a left on Church, left on Hall of Fame, left on Magnolia Avenue, and right on Central Avenue to regular route. The inbound service from Central Avenue, left on Magnolia Avenue, right on Hall of Fame, right into Knoxville Station. The Route 22 Broadway, in order to increase connectivity, we are adjusting the departure times from Knoxville Station to 15 after the hour and 45 past the hour, rather than top and bottom of the hour as it stands currently. And the objective is to improve connectivity with other frequently traveled corridor routes that arrive and depart Knoxville Station, such as the 41, the 11, the 31, and the 22. The Route 23 Millertown, in order to provide additional service, we are extending weekday service. The last trip is at 45 instead of 7:45 p.m. instead of 5:45 p.m. We're adding Saturday service starting at 7:45 a.m. and the last trip at 7:45 p.m. let me interject and say one thing that allowed us to stay within our budget and add these additional service was the Route 1, reducing the number of buses on the Route 1 weekday. So that's how we was able to keep this, the budget intact. So currently, we have 3 buses operating on the Route 1, and when we rerouted it, we reduced that to 2 buses. So that allowed us to have some funds to implement this new service on Saturday. And of course, the Route 37 will now have 30-minute service because it's interlined with the Route 23. The Route 40 South Knoxville will operate along James White Parkway. Revised routing replace Sevier and Blunt Avenue segments with the Route 41 Chapman. The outbound for the new Route 40 from Knoxville Station, left on Church, continue Howard Baker, right Hill Avenue, left James White Parkway, right Anita, continue Sevier Avenue, and then make that immediate right onto Allen Home to regular route. That regular route includes outbound Fisher, Gilbert, McClung, as well as it doing the same inbound. So it will no longer be on detour and only serve South Haven outbound. The inbound from Allen Home, it'll make a left on Sevier, continue Anita, left James White Parkway, right Hill Avenue, left Howard Baker, and continue Church to the station. The objective is to address requests from the community to restore regular route outbound and inbound, which was revised due to timing issues. The Route 40 South Knoxville, again, will no longer serve Sevier and Blunt. It will be served by the new routing on the Route 41 Chapman Highway. The Route 41 Chapman Highway, new routing, from Knoxville Station, right on Hall of Fame, left Hill Avenue, right James White Parkway, right Anita Drive, continue Sevier Avenue, continue Blunt, left on Chapman to regular route. Inbound from Chapman Highway, it'll make a right on Blunt, continue Sevier Avenue, continue Anita Drive, left on James White Parkway, left on Hill, right on Hall of Fame, left on Church to the station. And again, this is to continue service along this segment previously served by the Route 40 to address requests from the community to operate inbound and outbound the same as it was prior to the detour. And again, just want to reiterate the Route 42 UT Fort Sanders is still on an emergency detour that went into effect October 24th. It's still operating inbound along Cumberland and Avenue between 17th and 11th. Outbound remains the same, but inbound from Clinch, it makes a right on 17th, left on Cumberland, left on 11th, a right to Clinch to regular route, and its objective was to prevent accidents caused by parked cars on both sides of the street on Clinch between 16th and 17th. And are there any questions or comments, or do we just want to move into our Title VI analysis?
The commissioners have a few questions.
Sure.
Please.
Just one question for me about the Route 40 and 41. And correct me if I'm wrong, but part of this has to do with because of the Gay Street Bridge issue, right? So I'm assuming the idea and the goal would be that if and when that bridge is fixed, we'll look at these routes again?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so with that being the case, with the kind of swapping of like Sevier Avenue to 41 and the rerouting of these, will there be any additional like new stops added, or is it just a matter of kind of reshuffling how you get from one stop to the next? Like with these new routes, like are there going to be additional bus
The
stops on
stops
these
that
routes?
are intact will remain the same,
Okay.
but there will be, I don't know if we would say additional bus stops,
Okay.
but the bus stops along Hill and the bus stops along Howard Baker remain the same.
Okay.
And then we will look at a need to add more bus stops, but right now, we don't anticipate
Okay,
removing any or,
Okay.
because the same bus stops, the
Great.
same segments will continue to
be there, okay.
operate. Yeah,
All right,
be
that's
there.
all I've got, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Other comments? I have one quick follow-up question on the Route 42. Has there been any further discussion about potentially limiting the on-street parking to avoid crashes?
Yes, I've spoken to city engineering about that and just stressed our importance that we really want to stay where we're at, not have to deviate. So they are working on a plan for us to basically get back to that area. So I haven't heard an update yet, but I did talk with them. So they are working on it. Our biggest problem is just making sure people park within the lines. That's the reason why we had so many mirrors hitting vehicles. So, and again, we want to prevent those as much as possible. So, and looking at our public agency safety plan, that's why we deemed it, look, we'll get off of it and see if we can't make some changes. And working with city engineering, it sounds like we may have some options.
All right, shall we move on to the Title VI analysis results? And then after that, we'll open up for the public hearing on the proposed route changes and accompanying Title VI.
Good afternoon. I'm Pat Downs, the Chief Administrative Officer, as well as the Title VI Coordinator for Knoxville Area Transit. Because of these service changes, we are required to perform a Title VI analysis. And based on that analysis, we did find that Route 1, there was a major service change because it reduced service approximately 34%. So there was a major service change related to Route 1. However, there was no adverse impact on the minority or low-income population based on the analysis, if you look on page 2 of the Title VI report. So yes, there was a major service change, but was there any adverse impact on our low and minority population? No, because they were all within that point plus 10% that you all agree upon when you approved the Title VI analysis back in 2023. So we base all that on the analysis. So Route 1 and then Route 20, again, it was no major service change. And then again, it was no adverse impact on minority low-income population. Route 22, the same, no major service change, and no adverse impact on the minority low-income population. Route 23, Millertown, no major service change and no major impact or adverse impact on the minority low-income population. Route 37, Magnolia Side, Riverside, again, no major service changes and no significant adverse impact on the low income or minority population. The same with Route 40 and 41, no major service changes and again, no adverse impact on minority and low income population. So that's the analysis that was performed on those changes. Any questions?
You may not know this is the nerd in me coming out. By default, there will always be more non-minority people because of the demographics of Knoxville. Are there any additional statistical analyses that we're doing to look at the strength of that difference? So whether we're looking at, again, nerd me, confidence intervals or deviation from the standard deviation, because, again, there will always be no problem when the proportion of people who are in the majority are still in the majority of the ridership. So it'll never show a true change or a true burden.
Yes.
What are we doing to see the true burden? Again, just additional strength of difference or any other statistical analyses that way.
That's a very good question. And one of the things that Mr. Thorne and I talked about is we are looking at redoing our Title VI program itself, because I do feel like we need to capture that data, and we're not currently capturing that data. So yes, we are looking into that, and I don't have the answer for you today.
Beautiful, thank you so much. Just want to note that
Yep.
that's something we got to consider moving forward, is that
Yes.
this doesn't really do much for us.
Yeah, and Doug, do you have any comment on that? I know you've been heavily involved in, I don't know what other agencies or other communities are doing to do that, for this, but I don't know.
I think we're supposed to review it at least every 5 years, and we do y'all do a survey also. So some of the data is based on the survey, so the proportionality will change based on how the survey was done, and also it's a lot of census tract information. But I do agree. When that first came out, we kind of had to hurry and go through it to meet the federal regulations, and we probably do need to revisit it. I'd have to go back and dust up on how we set that. So we can do that for you.
Thank
Take a look
you.
at it.
Appreciate it.
Do the FTA regulations actually define the analysis? They do not. Okay. Okay.
At the time, because when they put out a new circular, all across the nation, people were rushing to get to it. They put out some kind of best practices. Here are some cities that we think were doing a good job. And I remember we picked one that we liked. But there's been a whole lot of new research in this area, so I think it's probably a good time to revisit.
You really don't get a approval from FTA when you submit your Title VI analysis. You don't really get official, this is okay. They just want you to submit it and submit it on time.
Any further commissioner comments or questions on the proposed route changes or Title VI analysis? All right, then at this time, we'll move to the public hearing for comments related to the route revisions and the Title VI analysis. We have at least one person signed up for discuss the route revisions, Mr. Wayne Kokeritz. I apologize if I didn't quite that quite right. Oh, okay. Okay. All right, sir. Well, you have 5 minutes to provide your comments. And if you could please state your name and address for the records. Thank you.
All right. Hey, good afternoon. Wayne Kokeritz. I live at 223 East Anderson. And I just wanted to come and speak a little bit on the Route 20. I'll take a step back here. You're giving me 5 minutes, which is pretty awesome. So I'm going to step back a little bit and say a huge champion, supporter of all that you're doing. The Kta Reimagined was very interested to see all the changes that came through there. Love the new fare system and apps on the phone, all of it. I think it's been fantastic. And so with that being said, I was quite disappointed to see the change on Route 20 come in the sense that I don't really feel that we need more buses going down Hall of Fame. We're pretty well stacked over there and have a lot of that. And so when Kta Reimagined came out, it was super exciting to see that 20 is a shot that goes straight down into the downtown corridor and then over to Knoxville Station. I think it was a fantastic redo. So just a few months in and we're already moving off of that. And I guess I was trying to figure out why. I didn't know what the basis was, but you could see there's a ton of stops that are getting eliminated. I know I take the 20 probably at least once a week from, sort of in the happy holler to come down and either shop, dine, meetings like today, all of that. And so just to see that go away so quickly, not truly understanding what the reason was or the rationale, but, it's not like that we need increased service on Magnolia and Hall of Fame. So just disappointed. I get it. You have to make tweaks. There's service issues. There's all those kinds of things. But I did want it to just come out and publicly say that I was opposed and disappointed if it does go away. Thanks.
Yeah, I can address the reason. When we realigned and revised the routing on the Route 1, we found it probably would be somewhat of a safety hazard to have both buses passing each other on Gay Street. And that was our main reason, because now since we're putting the Route 1, we wanted to make sure we didn't have another bus coming in the opposite direction. That's why we only doing one direction on the Route 1, Gay Street. And we felt, early on we had some timing issues with the Route 20 inbound because it was coming through downtown. It was taking an extended long period of time. We were able to make some adjustments in the running times, and we got that kind of resolved, but there was, like I said, there was some concern about the Route 1 serving Main Street and more, and have really just more exclusive to downtown. So we decided, it was decided that we use Gay Street on the Route 1, and for safety reasons, not to put the 20 on the Route 1 along with it.
Was that for the entire length of Gay, or was there a pinch point that you were specifically concerned about? Like, obviously, where that sculpture and that construction, that's a tight area, or was it just the entire length of Gay Street?
The entire length, but mainly Gay, right there around the movie theater.
Where at?
Right around the movie theater.
Okay.
Right in that area.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Because even if you could have that bus come in and even turn on Summit, right? And then go down and pick up Hall of Fame, you make that left-hand turn, would be, at least it brings that bus in and brings you at least kind of into the core of
A
that
little
city there.
closer.
Get a little bit closer,
Okay,
but, yeah.
okay. I like that.
I'm advocating for the 20 to stay downtown. That's all I'm doing. Now, I'm willing to compromise and horse trade a little bit, even though I don't have a say in it, but.
We'll take a look at that. We may be able to accommodate that. There is a transfer right there, though, at Central and Magnolia with the 1. But again, it goes locust to Main. However, we'll take a look at that. I don't think it's a deal breaker.
It's not a hard no yet.
I don't think that's a deal breaker on the proposed
saying
changes.
there's a chance.
But that routing the Summit to Hall of Fame could work.
I like it.
Yeah, we'll check it out.
May I suggest that staff do some further investigation and analysis into this, and perhaps at a future meeting, come back on the 20? Okay, thank you, sir. Okay. Right. And then, Mr. Benson, are you signed up to speak about the route changes? Yes, okay. You can come to the podium, and please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Right here. Yeah, you're live. Thank you very much. This is the 3rd time I've been here since April, all over these changes, and always on behalf of my daughter, so I hope I have all my facts straight because she couldn't be here. She currently takes a Broadway bus in the morning to get to downtown to catch the hospital bus. And she's currently leaving from the Kroger's out in Fountain City. She catches that bus there between 6:43, 6:47 is when she says the bus arrives. And even at that, the bus is not always guaranteed to get all the way to the transfer point. So she's one of the people that sometimes has to get out of church in Walnut. Now, I know this is what's going to be made easier here if these quarter after and quarter till the hours go into effect as far as the Broadway bus. But right now, it's a real drag. She's not near the complainer I am, and I hate as her father watching her and anybody else that during cold weather, when it's cold, it's dark in the winter, at that time of day, she's going to town, and she's getting out of one bus to stand out in sometimes very inclement and cold weather to wait on a bus coming from downtown. So my question is, with the quarter of and quarter till the hour going into effect, right now, I believe the bus she catches to come downtown is leaving downtown at 6 o'clock to go out north, make that loop around Jacksboro and come back through Cesare to start coming down south. Is there still going to be a bus at the time? And is there going to be a bus leaving? What's the first bus that's going to leave downtown? I guess is what my question, because I've never known of a bus to leave downtown before 6 o'clock. So if the first bus is going to be a quarter after 6, she's not going to be able to catch the bus at the same time she's catching it now, which means she won't get to an 8 o'clock UT job in time. So do we know at this point,
We do know that there's an earlier trip inbound.
there will be an early one?
There will be.
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
that takes care of that right there.
I was trying to pull up the exact time, but I can't, but it is an earlier trip.
Okay,
We talked
okay.
about that.
The second question is concerning the 42 coming back, and I don't completely understand the rerouting, because I don't ride that bus. But currently, she's catching a bus at roughly, I think it's 4:40. I think 20 of the hour is the routine time for a bus to be coming back to town from the hospital. Is that correct? It's just a 1 an hour thing, right? The hospital, no, maybe 2, 10 after and 40 after, 40 the hour. But with the proposed changes, right now, if she's leaving at 4:40, let's say, to come back to town, and that bus is on time, is fortunate enough not to have issues on the way back to downtown, she's lucky to catch a 5 o'clock bus leaving from the station to get on the Broadway headed north. With these detours, if you want to call them, that sometimes occur right now, right? I mean, this isn't that what's going on? What was originally going to be a temporary
Yeah, but
rerouting
it's still
is
on
now
time.
becoming a full-time.
It's still on the same time.
Will she be able to make, or anybody riding that bus from the hospital, be able to get downtown by 5 o'clock to catch their bus to come home out north?
Yes, sir, if the schedule permits, yes, sir. It's no delay on that detour.
I'm sorry, your last.
There's no delay with the detour. It's
Well,
still on schedule.
she's going to make it all the way to the station?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, that's it then. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That's all I have for public comments who have signed up regarding the proposed route changes in Title VI. We will have additional public comments at the end of the meeting, but that was all I had specific to the route changes. Do we vote now? I'd like to open this up for further discussion, comments, or questions from the commissioners.
I just had one brief thing to play off with the comment on the 20, just because, again, I also live near the 20, and I love the idea of taking it down here. But, I noticed that with the new route of the 1, like I think you had talked about, there is that one kind of crossover right there by like the old Greyhound station. And I would appreciate that if we are going to change the routes, which I don't necessarily mind, but that we look into the feasibility of having a shelter there, because I think a lot of people wouldn't necessarily mind making that transfer. But, just having that added benefit of like, even if it's a 5-minute wait, if we want to bring people into downtown without a car, that I think that would be a prime location to look into the installation of a shelter. So that's my only comment.
Yeah, we can look at that.
Any further commissioner comments or questions? All right, at this time, we should have a vote on the proposed route changes and accompanying Title VI analysis. So my understanding is that we vote them as a slate, so all of the routes together, if we're going to accept the proposed changes. So at this point, would someone like to make a motion?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor of the proposed route changes? Any opposed? Okay. All right, the changes have been approved. The next item of old business, is the proposed CAT service standards and long-range plans. So I'll turn that over to staff.
Yep. Last month, we provided the long-range plan and service standards to the KTA commissioners. As I said in that meeting, the next step for us in completing the comprehensive planning process that we implemented through Kta Reimagined is establishing these service standards and long-range plan. These two documents align with the community's goals that was established through the extensive public engagement process and the design of the new network that we now know as Kta Reimagined. The purpose of the service goals helps align decisions about how we adjust existing service, invest in improving service, and then monitoring the service. The service standards, as I said, covers a broad array of areas, network design principles, the summary of service change categories, defining features such as span, frequency, bus stop spacing. Also addresses service quality, targets travel speed, reliability, stop amenities, and then finally outputs. How do we measure success moving forward and particular goals for service, such as productivity and coverage. And then finally, the long-range planning document, that provides a priority list of items that should be reviewed when CAT has additional resources and funding. The priorities are increasing frequencies along transit lines, increasing weekend and evening service, and then finally adding more coverage routes. So at this time, I'll take any questions from KTA commissioners regarding either the service standards or the long-range plan.
I don't think any of us have the document you're referencing before us.
I'm sorry, I think we handed those out last week, or last month, so I apologize.
Oh, well, Dustin brought his because he does stuff like that.
I do.
And it's
You know, it's
in
highlighted
ink.
a lot of questions.
That's all right, I apologize.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. But I always do. Y'all know me. I know. So one that I was very curious about is you're talking about the category of like basic service, and this is on page 3. And it says certain basic routes or basic route segments may be upgraded to frequent over time should demand arise and resources increase. So my question is, obviously, you know, we need money, we need more resources, but like how do we balance the idea that like as a transit agency, sometimes we have to build the infrastructure to create the demand, right? Because what I don't want to see is us saying, well, you know, we don't, you know, no one's swimming the river, so we don't need to build the bridge, right? Like, how do you evaluate, okay, well, we see potential in this, so we're going to build a shelter, we're going to do this, because I want to make sure that we're prioritizing potential, not just what we see in data.
Yeah, so what I talked about last time too, the first thing you're talking about infrastructure, in particular, I'll address that, is on the major corridors, Magnolia, Kingston Pike, Chapman Highway, Broadway, we are right now working with city engineering on traffic signal prioritization. So that's our first step in ensuring that the 15-minute service or 30-minute service, that is consistent and it's on time. And the first step in that is really getting the traffic signal prioritization. When it comes to bus stops, we look at improving bus stop with better amenities by ridership, particularly, especially when we're talking about adding bus stops. So we're looking at 15 or more users a day at a bus stop before we say, okay, now this needs either a bench or a semi-seat or a shelter. So we are prioritizing those items. We're obviously trying to make all of our bus stops ADA compliant as well and accessible. A lot of that has to do, though, with sidewalks and walkability. And so, again, we're partnering with the city and city engineering on, if you're doing a street overlay project, they're also looking at sidewalks. Hey, can we move our sidewalk to make it a little bit more accessible for people a block down the road? So those type of things. It's constantly a partnership with city engineering when we're doing these projects and we're talking about improving frequency or improving infrastructure.
Okay, because one of the things that I'd noticed in, and you kind of just hit on it, this like amenities basically, and what we consider like the bare minimum. One of the things that, and I may have brought this up previously, but the best example I think I can give is by my house. So it's in Old North by like the fire station right there near Three Rivers, and there's a not a shelter, but there's a stop, and it's a sign, but it's whatever you want to call it. It's got the two cute little seats, right?
Semi-seat, yeah.
Yeah, and so in my mind, it's basically just a pole with two little seats. Shouldn't we be striving for that to be the bare minimum? Maybe we are, but like that's just something that to me that could make the world of difference. And if somebody chooses to ride the bus, is, you know, do I have somewhere to rest for 5 minutes?
Yep.
And I can't fathom those poles being that much more expensive.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a bare minimum being an ADA compliant bus stop pad. And then, yeah, moving to, that's also have some kind of seating there as well. And then with that seating, I mean, we keep adding on to this, that's have some kind of light that passengers can hit that shines on them, they feel more safe, and our bus stoppers can see them at night as well. So yeah, there's basics that, and then we can improve on those. I absolutely agree.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good, good. And then the last thing that I'll ask real quick, on page 6, when you talk about minimum frequency and minimum span, it mentions that, like, for example, for frequent and basic, both of them, like the minimum span, it says 18 hours on weekdays, 17 hours Saturdays, 13 hours Sundays. Should the minimum for Saturdays and Sundays not be the same, since we're trying to make Sunday and Saturday service the same on all routes?
Yeah, I mean, there's different theories on that because you're going to see the most amount of ridership always during the weekday,
Sure.
always. And then Saturday and Sundays is going to drop off. You're going to see a drop off on Saturday and even more on Sunday.
Okay.
And so I think that's probably what we're talking about when we're talking about span of service. Obviously, it'd be great to run all of our weekday service we run also on Saturdays and Sundays to make it very, very consistent. But again, it goes back to that resource question. If we had additional resources, would we put it right now on that weekend service, or we put it on more frequency during the week to get more people to employers? That's, yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, so this is more of just like a balance of.
Correct.
You know, the reality of how
Yes.
people ride on Sunday versus Saturday. Okay, all right.
Just to add one thing, that's based off the start times more so than anything. It's starting an hour later on Saturday, it's starting a couple hours later on Sunday, kind of thing. And it does say minimum. So,
While we were talking real quick, you were talking about the bus stops, making them ADA compliant. I know that just because they're going to drop ProWag off in everybody's lap in 2025, things aren't going to happen immediately.
Correct.
But that's going to be a driving force on how these bus stops and sidewalks go together. Will there be any federal money available for that?
Yeah,
Will it-
there's federal programs, not specifically for this, but there's federal programs discretionary, such as bus and bus facility. You can go after that funding for that. There's also TDOT Improve Act, and we have been successful over the last couple of years in securing over $2 million for bus stop improvements. It's just been a very, very slow process for us to get those dollars spent, because we have to go for an A&E process to do a bus layout. There's excavation work that has to be done, sidewalk improvements have to be done before we can put a bus stop in that's ADA compliant. But we're hoping over the next several months, you start seeing some of those bus stop improvements. We're working on 15 right now, or have been working on 15. Some of them are major improvements, so.
I lied, I have one more question.
Too much time.
You gave me too much to read. It's your problem. I like to read. So this is kind of me dreaming big here, but page 8 talks about on-time departures. One question that I had is, have we ever looked at, or is it feasible, even if it's just at like a super stop or something, for certain shelters to have, so for example, one of the things I love about the transit app is how it shows you your bus, it's connected to satellites and it says it's 2 minutes away or whatever. Obviously a lot of bigger metros, they'll have this and they'll say your next train is arriving in so many minutes. I know it's kind of a shot in the dark because it's like a long-term thing, but has that been looked into, and what would it take to get those at least on major stops?
Yeah, so basically the transit app's telling you your next stop is going to be at a shelter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're at with that, if that's in the works, but I'm sure that if we make that suggestion, I'm sure we're also not the first agency to make that suggestion to them. They're constantly updating the app with different features. So we can talk to them and see, are they already working on that? And if not, could they? We could possibly make that a reality. I like the idea.
That's what I'm asking
Oh,
about.
gotcha.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying, it's a long shot, but I just didn't know if that had been looked into, because
Yeah.
it could be
Gotcha.
as simple as just having a little physical thing for folks who might not have a phone or something.
Yeah. So you're basically asking for real-time information at the bus
At
stop.
specific stuff. I know we need more money, but like,
Yeah.
other than that, I'm just curious if that had been
So-
discussed.
It hasn't been discussed for actual bus stops. It is being something that we're looking at for sure for like the Broadway ABC corridor. So typically you'll find those along bus rapid transit corridors for sure. At every stop, you'll have real-time information on when the next bus is arriving. It'd be very, very hard to get that at every one of those stops. We'd have to look at it from a standpoint of our heaviest used stops on a daily basis. Yeah.
Other questions or comments on the long-range plan or the service standards? I will comment that I noted the on-time performance data is now in our packet as we're talking about service standards. So I was very happy to see a breakdown by route so we can monitor the high and low
Yeah,
performers.
keep us honest on that.
Yeah.
Keep pushing us. We're going to get to 90.
Excellent. All right, at this time, I believe we have to vote on the long-range plan and approve the service standards. So I will entertain any motions from the commissioners. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, the service standards and long-range plan have been approved. At this time, it is now for public comments, and we have one person signed up, Miss Julie Wallen. Once you come to the podium, please state your name and address for the record. You will have 5 minutes.
My name's Julie Wallen, and I live at Northgate. My first question is, how many of you all ride the bus on a regular basis? 2 of you? Okay. So y'all really can't speak as to passengers on the bus, only on policies and procedures, is that correct?
This is intended to be largely your comments. If you want to speak with us individually after, we're happy to do that.
Okay, well, my comments are on the 15, which is running late. The other day, we ran late because we had to stay at the station to wait for the supervisor to bring the driver food. The 15 is never logged in to where you can see where the next bus is. I have a couple of pictures of where it isn't logged in and the security camera isn't logged in. I have a picture of exposed wiring on the bus. How are these issues going to be taken care of? What security do I have if the security camera isn't even working? Nobody has answers for my comments?
Yeah, I can get with you after this and address all those.
We've done that before, yes, sir.
Okay. You want me to meet afterwards? Yeah?
Certainly.
Okay.
Those are all the names I have listed for public comments. Is there anyone else? Make sure I have everyone. All right. Then with that, the next agenda item is to set the next meeting, which will be on January 23rd. I believe that will be held in the small assembly room, so a change of location. Please be aware of that. And before we adjourn, I would like to say thank you to everyone for all the hard work this year, particularly to the CAT staff. It has been greatly appreciated, and I hope you all have a very happy holidays. With that, I would like to adjourn the December meeting. Thank you.
I'd like to tell you all a happy holidays as well and say this is my last meeting. I've filled my term. It's been an honor and a pleasure to serve with you guys and wish you all the best in the future.